It is absolutely an incredible honor and privilege to introduce the Moores this evening. As most of you are aware, we have had Bill McCartney slated to join us for this event for roughly 8 months now. When we first set the site, we identified Bill, got him on the agenda, and he was going to come be our guest speaker for the event until an unforeseen health incident caused him to back out last week. And as always, God has perfect plans, and they prevailed in a major way with this event this year. Derrick is truly a blessing, and I cannot wait to hear him tonight. However, my father always taught me that ladies come first, so in keeping with that adage, I thought it appropriate to begin my introduction with his better half, and Derrick, I'm sure you're okay with that. Stephanie Perry Moore is a Christian fiction novelist that has penned, and I want you to get this, over 60 books. Inspirational Christian books that she has written. A true Southerner, she was born in South Carolina, raised in Virginia, educated in Alabama, and now resides in Georgia. So you just about blanketed the Southeast. Except Mississippi, we'll get you over there, but that's right in our wheelhouse, all those areas where our guys work there. She is the trailblazing author of the Peyton Sky series, the first African-American Christian teen series. And it's my understanding that negotiations are currently underway to turn these inspirational novels into films. So you very well might be seeing these on the big screen soon. She is also a motivational speaker and a community activist. And she is working on several film projects as we speak. Among them, she has a development deal with Turner Entertainment Networks, and she is the executive producer, creator for a web show called The Locker Jam. So I want to give her a round of applause. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Moore. I first met Derrick in Macon, Mississippi at Lake Forest Ranch for a statewide Fellowship of Christian Athletes meeting in 2004, my senior year of college. And Derrick was the keynote speaker for that event. And he left an unbelievable impression on me that has stuck with me ever since. The passion, conviction, and positive enthusiasm he conveyed while presenting the gospel was absolutely infectious. As many of you are aware, Derrick had an illustrious athletic career. He was an All-American running back for Northwestern State University. He was the MVP in both the Hula Bowl and the Blue-Gray All-Star Football Classic his senior year of college. That's pretty impressive. Not only did he make the games, which in and of itself is pretty amazing, he was the MVP in both. His NFL career led him to the Atlanta Falcons and the Detroit Lions, where he played alongside Hall of Fame running back Barry Sanders. And Scott Glanton and I had the privilege, we caught him for breakfast this morning, and we were like a couple of kids in a candy store, just hanging on every word as he was sharing a little bit about his NFL experiences. Additionally, Derrick played for the Carolina Panthers, where he set and still holds the rushing record for an expansion team in its inaugural season. And I've seen some old highlight reels of this guy, and trust me, you did not want to get in Derrick's way when he was toting the pigskin. He was pretty amazing. After graduating from the NFL, Derrick has turned his time and energy into investing in others. He's been affiliated with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at least 10 years, right, Derrick? Okay, with Georgia Tech, and he now serves Georgia Tech as the developmental coach for the athletic department. He assists Georgia Tech athletes with leadership skills, team building, relationship development, and personal fulfillment. How appropriate. You think about what we do, and it just all correlates very well. Derrick's also a family man. He and Stephanie have 3 beautiful children. I got to see pictures of them today. Dustin, who is 18, Sydney, 16, and Sheldon, 14. Did I get those right? Because I was, okay. In fact, Dustin seems to be following in his father's footsteps, having just accepted a full athletic scholarship to play linebacker at Kent State University. Let me tell you, you got to catch Derrick because he's got a picture of this young man on his phone, and he showed it to Scott and I today, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness. I thought he had shoulder pads on, but it was just his jersey over his I'm serious. I'm serious. He's been through Derrick's training academy, evidently. We were learning a little bit about that as well. So without further ado, it is my great honor and privilege to introduce to the stage Mr. Derrick Moore.
Thank you so much. Well, good evening. I want to thank Scotty for that awfully kind introduction. I don't deserve that, but I thank you so much for it. I would be remiss or negligent even, if I did not recognize one of your employees, actually, Mr. Cammie Smith. And Cammie and I go back a ways, and he was actually a student, Morehouse College in Atlanta, and I had the great honor of being a part of a mentoring program, and he and I connected extremely well, and it's so neat to see him again and the great things he's doing here with your group. And now, if any of you need any kind of insider information, any good dirt you might want to have on him, you can certainly see me in the hallway afterwards, and I bet I could pull up a couple of goodies, so good to see you, Cammie. I would also be remiss if I did not say how much I outpunted my coverage when it comes to my wonderful bride of 20 years. And certainly I don't deserve her, and she's tolerated me for all of these years, taking her all around the country chasing a pigskin. So, but she's impressive in her own right, and she is an amazing lady, and certainly does an incredible job with our children. And I'm the number one child, by the way. But she's wonderful. I would also be remiss if I didn't tell you that I am a Jesus guy. I am. I'm a Jesus guy from head to toe. And I'm absolutely, completely am unapologetic about it. I'm so awfully glad that there are companies that, in their core values, open their doors for faith-based purposes. And there is room. The Bible tells us that there was no room for Christ in the inn. And I thank God that at a place like One Life, there's room for him. And I don't much like going places where there's no room for him. So I'm awfully glad there's room for him. That being said, I'm going to tell a joke. Now, I want you to know my wife laughs at all of my jokes. And so even if it's not funny, I want you to laugh. And if you don't laugh, I'm 250 pounds. Can bench press 400 pounds, and I'm going to have a little conversation with you afterwards. There's no boy out there digging a post hole corner with a post hole digger. No preacher come up to him. Hey, how you doing, fella? Said, I'm doing good. He said, I want to ask you a couple of questions. He said, go right ahead and ask. He said, I want to know, are you born again? The fella looked at him and said, well, I was born in 1947. And I was born one time. I don't know about being born again. He said to him, he said, oh, you don't understand. He said, is your name on the roll? He said, Miss Peabody, she taught me grade school, and last time I checked, I was on that roll. And he said, you don't quite understand. He said, well, are you ready for Resurrection Day? And the man looked at him and said, when's it gonna be? The preacher said to him, well, it could be today or it could be tomorrow. He said, well, then don't tell my wife, she'll want to go both days. Well, I don't know if I'm going to get in the joking business, but I enjoy a goodie every now and again. I'm very humbled and thankful and to be here tonight. I want to thank the One Life family for this tremendous opportunity. And I also want to express my congratulations to your leadership teams, to all of your high performers. I came from an industry where high-performing people express themselves tremendously. I have designed a program called Climb. It's a program built around one of the 7 wonders of Mount Everest, as she sits some 29,000 feet. And then there's at 17,000 feet a place called Base Camp. And it's the place where you prepare and get ready to make the climb. And I paint these pictures of peak performers, and that there are disciplines that are part of the process that gives the climber the ability to make the track. I appreciate being among peak performers, outstanding performers. There's a statement tossed around that I believe can be severely misunderstood or understated. And the statement is simple, when you've heard it probably, that teamwork makes the dream work. You might have heard that. If we were at Georgia Tech, in the locker room, the Yellow Jackets would be in the middle of the floor. Teamwork makes the dream work. What? Teamwork. That's what they would be doing. But I believe in that connotation, that teamwork does make the dream work. But the entire concept, and get this, can be likened unto what I call a game of tug-of-war. And you know what a good old-fashioned tug-of-war is probably all about. A group of folks on one side of a chalk line and a group of folks on the other side, and there's some high intense action going on between the two rivals. But there are 3 things I want to highlight about the tug-of-war. That you have to position your people, and in doing so and in positioning your people, you have to identify certain personnel if you're going to have the best chance to win the tug-of-war. And the first person you want to identify is the anchor man. A strong anchor man is necessary in any organization. You've got to identify an anchor man, and he's usually positioned obviously at the back. And then you need a person at the front who can pull and tell you where you are at all at the same time. And so you need a front line person that can grab hold of the rope, can anchor themselves, and at the same time can pull, but also can coach everyone else up. And so you need an anchor man in the rear, and you need sort of a motivator or a coach in the front. And then thirdly, there has to be some people in the middle who have to just get a grip. I don't know if you got that. They just have to get a grip and pull. Literally pull, but figuratively speaking, expectations and standards, goals, and if they are going to make the sale, then those people in the middle have to pull. It's interesting. So we've got our strong anchor man, or woman. We've got our frontline motivational coach who's pulling but coaching everyone up. And I believe in life and in business, we need coaching up quite a bit. And then thirdly, there are people in the middle who just have to get a grip and pull. Now get this. The grip is the key to winning. Real important to get this. The grip is real important to winning. And the key to winning is not necessarily the strength of the anchor man, nor the motivation of the motivator. But the real key to winning comes down to the people in the middle. Because the hope is that in most tug-of-war events, and I teach this in a team building exercise at Georgia Tech and in other places, and what we've discovered is that it's not necessarily the anchor man, nor is it the frontline motivator, but it's the people in the middle. And if a tug-of-war is lost, it's usually lost because somebody couldn't get a grip. Because what you lose first is the grip. Got to get a grip. Those people in the middle are critical to the win. They are incredibly critical to the win. It's not the strength of the anchor man. It's not the motivator at the front. But it's those people in the middle that we're always cheering for and hoping that if they can buy in, if there can be a level of trust that those middle tug-of-war companions would have, is that they trust the anchor man and they trust the motivator, and as a result, they grab hold of the rope and they get a grip. Do you know that one of the primary reasons why some companies fail and others succeed is because we just don't get a grip? Let me take you somewhere for a quick moment. For me, it all starts at my home, and I'm so glad my wife is here. You can question her afterwards. In my home is a mess. If my home is in a mess, then I'm going to be in a mess everywhere else I go. And so it's important that I get a grip at home so that I can get a grip at work. So if my home's a mess, my workplace is going to be a mess. It starts at home first. Let me introduce to you my tug-of-war team. Are y'all ready? Show them to you. There they are. Okay, show them to you. This is my tug-of-war team. And hold on, some very important things to communicate. There I am. Boy, that's a good-looking guy. I'm telling my wife, I just make us look so good. And she just looks at me and prays. You know? But there I am. I'm the anchor man. I'm at the rear. There's Stephanie. And Stephanie's at the front. She's a motivator. She's She just tells me what to do all day long. And I listen. But she cheers for our team. And she gives tremendous instructions. And so you've got the front covered, and then you've got the anchor man. But let me tell you about those three up top. Now there's Dustin, my son. Dustin's very unique. Very, very unique. Dustin, I won't ever forget it, when Dustin attempted to play football, it was so important that he learned some fundamental things. And what's amazing is that Dustin got cut from the 7th grade team. I didn't know they cut in middle school. But they cut in middle school. I came home and I said, son, what's wrong? And he's weeping and crying and he tells me he gets cut. And so I go see the middle school coach. I'm fired up. And sure enough, the middle school coach says, Mr. Moore, he's just not quite ready. And of course, my ego, Mr. NFL. Don't you know I played in the NFL, pal? And so he sent me away, discouraged. So I go home and I tell Dustin, you know what we're going to do, buddy? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a year and we're going to train and we're going to go back to that team in the 8th grade. And so I introduced Dustin to training for the first time. And I took him out in the community, our yard, our community we live in. I had him jog around the neighborhood because the coach told me he couldn't finish the running test. And so just about halfway around, he started to quit. And at that moment, I was so happy Children's Services wasn't around. Because at that moment, he started to weep. And I said, you better not stop running. You better keep moving. And he's looking up at me. And I said, you better not tell your mama. And sure enough, he told, oh, absolutely he told. Well, here's what happened. I get in front of him and Dustin gets behind me. And I said, grab my shirt. And I said, run in step with me. And sure enough, Dustin would run in step and then he would come in front of me and he'd lead me. And I said, I think we're on our way. Dustin goes back, makes the team, long story short there. He goes on to become an incredible athlete and has gotten a scholarship to Kent State University. And Dustin is not my biological son. He's adopted. He was adopted when he was 8 years old. And he's in the middle. Get a grip, Dustin. Hold on. Remember, the tug-of-war's lost in the middle. So if these people can get a grip on some very important things, we're going to win the war. Sydney is an aspiring student who wants to go on to Clemson University. Go Tigers. And we were at Clemson University just a couple of days ago, sort of touring the campus. And Sydney wants to be a person who can go to a place like Clemson and do great things. And so she knows that on an academic level that she's got to excel at a certain level to get into a place like a Clemson or some major university. And so what we're often telling Sydney is she's got to get a grip on what the standards are and what the expectations are for a place like Clemson. We tell Dustin that if you want to play football beyond high school, then you've got to get a grip on training. And incidentally, I left this out with Dustin. In our training sessions, I told him this: we're going to make trips to the gym, one trip after another. And we're going to add up the trips. And we would make one trip after another. And I told him at the end of the trips, we're going to make enough trips that it's going to change your body composition. It's going to change your mental capacity. And I told him that if you're going to be successful in life, and if you're going to be a successful organization, and if you're going to have long-term sustainability, and you're going to be highly competitive in a competitive marketplace, and if you're going to excel on a football field, it's all about the trips you make. Make enough trips. And if you run 4.9, if you make enough trips, I'll get you to a 4.8. If you make enough trips, if you run a 4.8, I'll get you to a 4.7. And if you make enough trips, if you sold one product, we'll get you to sell 50. And if you sold 50, we'll sell 500 if you make enough trips. Because here's the quite truth, is that not everyone wants to make the trips. Because sometimes the trips are done in extreme conditions. I remember getting Dustin up at 5:30 in the morning. He's 11 years old. I get him up. Where are we going? It's a Saturday morning. Where are we going? We're going to make a trip. And sure enough, we made the trip on a Saturday morning. And just the other day, I'm in the car with Dustin. He's 6'1", he's 233 pounds almost. Can bench press 370 pounds. And I looked over at him. So you've been making some trips, haven't you? He said, yeah, Dad, I've made a lot of trips. You have Sydney, you have Sheldon. Sheldon's my young little cheerleader. It starts at home, and she wants to go to Auburn University. Ooh, did we say ooh? Well, have you know, Miss Stephanie went to Auburn. Yes, she did. And she cheered for Auburn. And so young Sheldon wants to follow in Mom's footsteps. And she wants to go and represent the Moore home at Auburn University. And so for Sheldon, academically, athletically, it's all about the trips. It's all about expectations and standards. And it's really important because we challenge them that if you're going to go where you want to go, succeed like you want to succeed, touch the things you want to touch, you've got to get a grip. Got to get a grip. Well, what's important that we share with them is that we remind them that they have strong support from the rear. They have a strong anchor man. I tell my son all the time, you have a strong anchor man. Even when you go to Kent State, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have all kinds of things that's going to come at you. You're going to make some decisions and some choices. You're going to make them on the spot. I said, but don't ever forget, you have a strong anchor man at home. I told him the other day, he looked at me and he wanted to wrestle me. And of course, I trick him all the time, make him think I'm still as good as I used to be. There's an old song somewhere, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I told him that it's all about the trips, Dustin. And he's got a strong anchor man. And then also remind the girls that they have a strong anchor woman at the front. And she's giving instructions and encouragement so when they head off to Clemson and head off to Auburn, And as they are matriculating academically to get to where they want to get to, they have a tremendous motivator in the front that's encouraging them and cheering them on. For what purpose? So that they don't lose their grip along the way. You've got a strong anchor man, and you've got a strong frontline person in your mom. So I close. Teamwork makes the dream work is very apropos. So when we go our separate ways for the day, we trust that everybody is pulling in the same direction. And it's so critical that in any organization, that in the tug of war, we've all got to be pulling in the same direction. We've got to have a strong anchor man, a great motivator, and those middle people is really where it's won and lost. Because if you take them out, the anchor man and the person in the front isn't enough to win the tug of war. It really requires that internally those middle people get a grip and we're pulling in the same direction. So right now I'm proud to say to One Life this evening that the Moore family, we're winning the tug of war. We're winning it. Those three young people have got a good grip. They've got a great motivator, and they've got a strong anchor man. And as a result, we're winning it. Mom is writing films and writing books. Dustin, working on getting ready to go to college. Sydney and Sheldon are driven with a passion for academic excellence. And every day we remind them that when it burns the most, it feels like your hands are on fire, just hold on to the rope. You've got a strong anchor man. You've got a great motivator in the front. One Life, I encourage you, as you continue to do what you do with great excellence, keep pulling. Keep pulling, no matter how hard it hurts. Make sure you've got some great middle people. You've got a strong anchor man. You do. You've got some strong frontline motivators. And from what all that I've read, you have some tremendous middle people that are doing exceptional things. But as I leave you tonight, I want to remind you that it starts at home. I've often said, if you can't be great at home, you'll never be great at work. You'll never be great at work. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, love your husbands or significant others. Parents, invest in your children. Motivate and encourage. Provide positive reinforcement. Make certain that they know there's nothing they can't achieve. Because they have a strong anchor man and they have a wonderful motivator. Just tell them to get a grip. Just get a grip. One Life. And whatever your goals are in 2013 and what you're aspiring to do on the next level as a company, if you get a grip, you can do it. But it requires internal strength, and it requires that everyone pulls in the right direction and in the same direction. I'll close with a quote that I often use. Most of you have probably heard it. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win and think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, then you're lost. For out in the world, you'll find that success begins with a person's will. It's all in their state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, then you are. You have to think high to rise before you can ever win a prize. The life successes don't always go to the stronger, faster man. But sooner or later, the one who wins is the one who thinks he can. I was never the fastest. I was never the strongest. I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the most talented. But I was always the one who thought he could. And it's propelled me to where I am now. I heard a request in the audience. I don't know if I can summons what I summoned at Notre Dame on that great afternoon when the Yellow Jackets went into Notre Dame and won. But one of the things I challenge my children with, and has been the staple of my own life, is that you have to fight for what you want and for what you want to become. In Notre Dame, I told them we're going to fight till we can't fight no more. Till we can't fight no more. We're going to lie down and bleed a while. We're going to get up and fight some more. I can hear the Georgia Tech team jumping when I say that. One life, keep up the fight, get a firm grip, make sure you have a strong anchor man, make sure you have a great motivator in the front, and pull like you've never pulled. And at the end of the day, make sure you win your family. God bless you.